How's it going, everyone, and welcome to the first FPLijah video of the 2022-23 FPL season. I hope that I will be your dedicated go-to account for all things Fantasy Premier League, taking you through the highs and lows of the roller coaster that is FPL. And I will be providing you with topics for both beginners and seasoned FPL managers. This is a quick preview of the topics covered in today's video. And we will answer questions like, can you actually have 4 players from one team? And the answer is technically yes. And other questions like the true definition of an FPL assist and so on. So make sure you smash that like button, comment below, and make sure you subscribe to the channel. So let's get into it. So the reason that I am showing you my FPL history isn't for you to praise me in any way, but I just want to show you that any dedicated FPL account can shove content and their opinions down your throat, regardless of whether they're a noob or not. But I want you to take comfort in the fact that you will be getting advice from me, who has been a touch consistent with regards to overall rank and winning my mini leagues year in, year out. My name is Elijah, if you already didn't know that, and I'm also known by my dedicated FPL account name FPLijah, and you can find me on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Reddit, and this is my 7th season playing FPL. Now, as you can see, I started in the 2016-17 season, and I got off to a great start, finishing at 28k, which was the top 0.62% in the world. In the following year, I finished at 7k, so I thought, you know what? It won't be too far until I actually win this whole thing, right? Well, I was wrong. The following year, I finished at 86k, just outside the top 1% in the world. And in the 2019-20 season, I finished at 58k, so a slight comeback from the previous season. In the 2020-21 season was actually my most regrettable season to date. Yeah, I did finish at 7k, but at one point in the season, I was ranked 550th in the world. I think there was still 10 game weeks to go, so there was a very realistic chance of winning the whole thing. But it was not meant to be. I was a bit too stubborn with a certain decision. If you followed me on Twitter or followed the YouTube channel, you would know what actually happened there. Yeah, it was Gundogan. And last season, I finished at 7k yet again. And with 4 game weeks to go, I was actually ranked at 1.2k. And what was quite sad about that is that I felt certain that I would finish in the top 500. I mean, 1.2k, 4 game weeks to go, surely top 500 is on. But yeah, I had too many injuries in my team. I think in those final 4 game weeks, I took a -12, a -8, a -8, and a -4. So yeah, not ideal. But in summary, my philosophy when it comes to playing FPL, apart from having fun, is to go with my gut despite what the stats may often say. I use the eye test when making my transfers, and my aim is to always be at rank number 1. Come the end of the 38 game week season. Winning FPL hasn't happened yet, but maybe this is the year. Now that you're a little familiar with me, let's get into the beginner's guide to FPL. If you haven't already set up your account, the first thing that you'll need to do is register on fantasy.premierleague.com. Thereafter, you can use the browser or download the official FPL app on your phone. And to be honest, I tend to use the browser even on my phone, as there have been a few reported bugs on the app in the past where transfers and captaincies did not save, which is kind of a big thing, but maybe that has been improved. I don't actually know. So yeah, once you're all set up, you will then need to select a squad of 15 players with a budget of £100 million, consisting of 2 goalkeepers, 5 defenders, 5 midfielders, and 3 forwards. And your only limitation is that you can have a maximum of 3 players per Premier League team. But like I said earlier, there is a little hack on how to get 4 players from one team into your FPL team, but we will get to that later in the video. So yeah, once you select your 15-man squad, keep in mind that you will be starting with 11 players and you will have 4 on the bench. And it should look a little something like this. We'll get to substitutions and bench order later in the video. And the next thing that you may ask yourself is, what do you do with regards to formation? Well, any formation is allowed in your starting 11, but there are minimum requirements that must be kept at all times. You need to have 1 goalkeeper, 3 defenders, 2 midfielders, and 1 forward. Now, there are so many formations available to you, but typically when anyone chats formation in the world of football and FPL, we refer to it without mention of the goalkeeper, as you absolutely need a goalkeeper in your team, right? So in a formation, we will always begin with the defense, the midfield, and then your forwards. So your typical formations are a 4-4-2, a 3-4-3, a 4-5-1, a 4-3-3, and my absolute favorite, which is a 3-5-2. On my current draft, I don't actually have a 3-5-2, but we will get to that in the next video, which will be my team selection for Gameweek 1. So yeah, this about sums up your initial team selection and your formations. Now, let's move on to the captaincy and vice-captaincy. So, after you've picked your starting 11 for the game week as well as your bench players, you then have to pick a captain and a vice-captain. Now, picking a captain doesn't mean picking the player you like the most or the player you feel is a leader on the pitch, but it's actually selecting a player that you feel will score the most points in your team. Your selected captain will then get his points doubled. And in the event that your captain doesn't play a single second of football for a given game week, and I mean not a single second, that player that you have selected as your vice captain will then become your captain, with the first player from your bench auto-subbing in, as long as the minimum formation requirement rules have been kept. And a little pro tip here, do not captain and vice captain a player from the same team, just in case you have issues with COVID and weather where a match gets postponed. So yeah, since we're talking about substitutions and auto subs, let's go straight into that. So in the event that any player from your starting 11 does not play a single second of football in the game week, whether that's due to injury, rotation, COVID, match postponements, whatever it is, that player will be substituted with the first player on your bench, provided that the minimum formation requirements are met, as I stated earlier in the video. And I would like to stress that the bench order absolutely matters. Now, let's say, for instance, in this team, Martinelli didn't play a single second of football. So who would come into the team? Yep, that's right, Nico Williams. And that will inevitably change the formation from a 3-5-2 to a 4-4-2. And that was all down to auto subs and how you've selected your bench order. And I'm sure you're looking at this graphic and thinking, hey, he has 4 Liverpool players in his team, right? Well, no, Nico Williams was a Liverpool player, but he has moved to Nottingham Forest. It's just unfortunate that his picture hasn't been changed yet, his kit. So yeah, that's how the formation works, as well as the subs and auto subs. And I also want to give you another example. I haven't done the graphics for it, but let me give you an example of formation being kept due to auto subs. I actually wrote an article yesterday that was released on a beginner's guide to FPL, and I'm just going to read a portion of it to you. So let's just say you've gone for 3 defenders at the back, say Trent, Cancelo, and James. But one of them didn't play a single second of football, and say that person was James, right? And your first sub on your bench is a forward, and let's say that forward is Archer. Archer will not be substituted in, as you didn't keep the minimum formation of 3 defenders, because now you've started with 3 defenders, 1 defender didn't play, right? And your first player on the bench was a forward. So you can't have 2 defenders now getting points. You aren't allowed to have 2 defenders at the back. So your second sub will come in if that is a defender, which it should be if you started with 3 defenders and your first player on the bench was a forward. So yeah, that's an example of how your formation will be kept because it has to adhere to the minimum formation requirements. So that rounds up the subs and bench order. Now let's get into your transfers. Before the first deadline, I'm sure you've made a ton of transfers as you continue to tinker and try and find that perfect squad with unlimited transfers, right? But once the Game Week 1 deadline comes, you only get one free transfer per game week. If you feel like your team is still quite perfect in Game Week 2, well, then you can save that transfer in Game Week 2 and go into Game Week 3 with 3 free transfers. Now, a limitation when it comes to transfers is that you're only allowed to have a maximum of 2 free transfers saved. So, if you decide not to make a transfer for another game week, let's just say in Game Week 3, you still feel your team is perfect, well, you essentially lose out on one transfer. Every additional transfer that you make beyond your 2 free transfers, well, that will be at the expense of a -4 to your overall points. Now, let's just say in this team, Mo had a bit of a stinker, Son's got a hat-trick in Game Week 1, and you want to make the move. Well, you could use one free transfer and go from Mo to Son. Then you're like, oh crap, you just found out that Cancelo is injured in training according to Pep. And then Pep confirmed that John Stones will be starting. Well, you're going to make another transfer, take your -4 points hit, and move from Cancelo to John Stones. Now, from what I said a little earlier, with regards to that little FPL hack, I'm sure some of you have 4 players from one team, and you may be asking yourself, how is that even possible? How are you able to do this when the game explicitly states that you cannot have more than 3 players from one team? Well, if you currently had 3 players from one team, I'm going to use Chelsea as an example here. Let's say you went with James, Chilwell and Mount in your first draft. Okay, and you also had Sterling in your draft while you were still a Man City player. Sterling then transferred to Chelsea, making him a 4th player from one team. Now you have 4 players from one team. Now the issue comes here. The moment you transfer out any of your 4 Chelsea players, which are James, Chilwell, Mount and Sterling, whilst you're tinkering, you won't be able to get a 4th Chelsea player in again. But if you keep your 4 Chelsea players as is, it is completely allowed heading into the first game week. Yeah, that's a bit of a hack. As you had Sterling before he moved from Man City to Chelsea. Now the downside to this is that after the Game Week 1 deadline, whether you save a transfer going into Game Week 2 or whatever it is, the moment that you want to make any transfer, the game will tell you to remove a Chelsea player, and you won't have the flexibility to make a different transfer. Unless, of course, you take a -4 points hit, which I'm not always against. So yeah, that's a bit of an FPL hack. If you didn't already know that, comment below. It's nice to know if I've taught someone something new. It's always great to know. So yeah, now that we've gone through some of the basics with regards to FPL, how on earth do players actually get points? So there are a ton of ways for your players to get points when it comes to FPL, and some ways of getting points are the same regardless of the player's position. And that's basically summarized here on screen right now. If you've played less than 60 minutes, you get 1 point. If you played more than 60, but excluding injury time, it's 2. An FPL assist is 3 points. Now, when it comes to an FPL assist, I just want to talk to you about this. It works a little different from just the regular assist that you may be accustomed to when it comes to football. And let me tell you what is classified as an FPL assist. So it's a final pass or cross before a goal is scored, or the player takes a shot at goal and the keeper saves it, but it rebounds into play and the immediate player thereafter scores. The player takes a shot at goal and it hits the post or the crossbar and it rebounds into play and the immediate player scores thereafter. If a player wins a penalty that is converted, then yeah, that's an FPL assist. But I do want you to know that if the player wins the penalty and also scores the penalty, that player will only receive points for scoring the goal and not get the assist points as well. I mean, they should, right? That's like a bonus. We would just go for players that often dive, as well as taking penalties as well. And yeah, the last way to identify an FPL assist is an attempted shot or cross or pass, but it hits the opposing player and goes in as an own goal. That is also an FPL assist. I'm sure you're looking here and you're wondering what the hell is bonus points, right? Well, bonus points are awarded to the 3 best players in the game according to the bonus point system implemented by FPL. And honestly, as a serious FPL player, I don't often agree with who these points are awarded to at the end of the game. And that's why me and other serious FPL players often ask the official FPL page for transparency when it comes to this. But yeah, what can you do? And when it comes to red card, it's a -3, mate. Yeah, no player, no FPL manager wants the player to get a red card. But beyond that -3 points, the punishment doesn't end there. Negative points for goals conceded in their absence will still apply. And moving on from this, we have your goalkeeper. So a goal scored for a goalkeeper is 6 points. And to be honest, this should be at least 10. How often does a goalkeeper score? I mean, one of my fondest memories of football happened recently, that Alisson banger against West Brom in injury time. Yeah, if you didn't already know, I am a Liverpool supporter. So yeah, a clean sheet is 4 points. Every 3 saves made is a point. A penalty save is 5 points. So it's always nice to get in players like Martinez, even Sanchez. You know, the goalkeepers that are likely to get you a save point, a penalty save. And yeah, every 2 goals conceded is a -1. When it comes to defenders, a goal scored is also 6. Like I said, the goalkeeper goal should be 10 points, right? A clean sheet is 4, and every 2 goals conceded is a -1. And yeah, I'm looking now that Digne is in a different kit. Yep, I'm not editing this out. Next, the midfield. You've got Mo up top, and a goal scored is 5 points, and a midfielder gets a point for a clean sheet. And lastly, a forward. The only thing that a forward gets differently to any other player is goal scored, and that is 4 points. Yeah, putting a lot of budget into your forwards isn't ideal if they aren't scoring week in, week out. But players like Kane, Haaland, we can expect them to score a ton of goals this season. So yeah, that's basically how all the points are awarded in FPL. And now we will move on to the most exciting part of the game, which are our chips. To spice things up, making FPL more fun as well as introducing a further element of strategy, Fantasy Premier League has added 4 chips for us to use throughout the season. Well, technically 5 chips, but we'll discuss that soon. Starting with the wildcard. Well, it allows for you to make unlimited transfers and change your entire squad without incurring any deduction in points. You get 2 wildcards per season. The first wildcard is to be used by the Gameweek 16 deadline, which is on Saturday, the 12th of November. Hey, that's actually my uncle's birthday. I won't actually forget that. So yeah, Saturday, 12th of November, 2022. If the first wildcard is not used by the Gameweek 16 deadline, you will unfortunately lose that chip. And any saved free transfers before using the chip will be lost. So let's say you had 2 free transfers, but you decided to use the wildcard instead. Well, the next game week, you will be back to the usual 1 free transfer, which sucks, right? Next up, we've got the triple captaincy, and your selected captain will get triple his points instead of the usual double, and you only get 1 triple captain per season. Got your bench boost chip. This chip is either the most amazing chip on earth, or it's the worst chip known to man. You often wreck your entire team just to get 15 players, 15 starting players. But yeah, we'll talk about that further into the season. So the bench boost chip allows for you to get points from all 15 players from your squad for a game week, and not just your starting 11. And the final chip, which is the free hit. Now this is very similar to the wildcard, except the free hit allows for you to make unlimited transfers and change your entire squad without any points deductions, but it's for 1 game week only. Your squad will then return to what it was before using the free hit chip in the following game week after it was used. And just like the wildcard, any saved transfers before using it will be lost. Yeah, that sucks. So the wildcard is the only chip where you get to use it twice per season. And your triple captain, bench boost, and free hit chips are all to be used once per season. If you played FPL last season, we were given a bonus free hit due to COVID, which is quite cool. Introduced a new element with regards to strategy, which is always nice, as we had blank game weeks, double game weeks, and so on. Essentially, a fifth chip has been added this season due to the curveball that is the World Cup, where it's been confirmed by FPL that we will be getting unlimited free transfers during the World Cup period when there is no FPL, which is between game week 16 and 17. So yeah, unlimited free transfers, which is very different to the wildcard and the free hit. It basically means that we'll be doing exactly what we're doing right now ahead of game week 1, and we'll be able to use a chip immediately in the same game week, which isn't allowed for the other chips. So yeah, quite a new element to FPL this season. I quite like it. I think I would have preferred if we didn't get unlimited free transfers there. That's where a bit of luck comes into play, as well as planning. I would have planned to get in players that weren't going to the World Cup. Players like Salah and Robertson, for instance, aren't going to the World Cup. Those are players you'd want in your team prior to the World Cup beginning. But yeah, what can you do? FPL are appealing to the wider crowd to make the game a bit more fun, a bit bigger. And yeah, that sums up the chips. And lastly, I want to get into a little bit of advice going into Game Week 1. So the Game Week 1 deadline is fast approaching, and I just want to give you a few tips from my side. And the first one is to avoid information overload. Now, there are a ton of YouTubers, there are a ton of people on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and now even TikTok with a bunch of information. Pick one or two content creators that you do enjoy, that you do like, that you do find, that they offer good advice. Maybe they are entertaining. Pick a few, but try and avoid that information overload. You've done your research now, right? You spent the last month or two just going through teams, looking at the minutes, looking at the goals, looking at the form, looking at the transfers, seeing what the managers are saying. You know exactly what you want. Your current draft is close to the final draft, right? Your only final piece right now is to listen to the manager presses. Maybe Pep comes out and says, oh, Haaland was injured in training. Well, then that will just mean an easy transfer, right? Haaland to Kane, or vice versa, whatever it is. That's the last bit of information that you should be looking at now. You know what you want. Avoid that information overload. It can cloud your judgment. It will make you change your entire draft just by, too much information. Just avoid that information overload. Even I'm waffling here. The next one, and this is my biggest one. Whenever anyone asks me for one tip when it comes to FPL, I say be flexible. Be flexible in your squad. That means try and target different price points in your initial team. So you want to have a premium in every position, maybe other than the goalkeeper. So you want to have a Trent at the back. In the midfield, you want Salah, and you want maybe an 8 mil player, whether it's Mount, whether it's Madison. Well, maybe not Madison with all those transfer rumors now. Luis Diaz, whoever you want. Just try and remain flexible in case one of the £8 million players absolutely smashes it and you'll want that player in with one free transfer. Be flexible in every way possible. Be flexible in your thinking. If you want to be conservative, you want to play safe, sometimes you're going to have to be able to take that hit instead of always benching a player. I've taken many hits throughout my years of playing FPL. I remember taking a -8 to bring in Gareth Bale, and he scored a hat-trick. I've done that for Jota as well, even Deulofeu, if any of you remember him. Yeah, it's always amazing when you take that hit and the player comes through for you. Yes, it doesn't always work, but it can happen. And don't be biased. Don't be biased when it comes to FPL. I know we all support a team, whether it's Liverpool, Man City, Man United, Spurs, Brighton, whoever it is. We all support a team. Do not be biased towards certain teams and players, or even for certain teams and players. Because I'm a Liverpool supporter, does that mean when Liverpool plays Man City, I shouldn't have a player like Haaland in my team? Not at all. Haaland is very likely to score. So yeah, be flexible in every way possible. Be flexible in terms of your strategy as well. Maybe you had a strategy in mind, but things change. Things change very quick with regards to FPL. Just be flexible. And if like me, you're a serious player, the aim should always be to finish at rank number 1. So always go with your gut, back yourself. Because if we all just follow the herd, we'd never win FPL, right? And I just want to say, play your own game. There's no fun in just copying another person's team, whether it's from YouTube or Twitter or wherever it is. Nothing, and I say nothing beats that feeling of your differential or your captain absolutely smashing it. And it was completely your own decision, especially if it was a 50-50 decision. I've had a ton of 50-50 decisions last season that didn't go my way. I tried not to do it, but there were a few decisions that had I made the right call last season, I could have won FPL. But yeah, we can all say that. So yeah, the last thing that I want to say, and it's the most important one, have fun. Honestly, just have fun when it comes to FPL. The most important thing about why I play this game is to just have fun. If you feel constantly upset or rage a bit too often when things don't go your way, then take a step back from the game. It's very unlikely that it's the game, right? It's usually social media with anything regards to FPL. Take a step back if that's bothering you. Because beating your mates is definitely a massive perk. For this bragging rights, maybe people at the office, at work. It's awesome. And FPL is huge, absolutely huge. And we could possibly reach 10 million FPL managers this season, which allows for casual talk, you know, amongst people at work, maybe someone you meet at the gym. It's quite cool. Just have fun, get involved with FPL. And I really hope that this video, you know, made you a little more keen to play FPL. And yeah, if you have any questions for me regarding your team or for more information regarding all things Fantasy Premier League, as well as for maximum interaction, make sure to subscribe to the channel, comment below with your team or your thoughts on the video, and follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Reddit. Good luck with this tinkering. I know you'll still be tinkering, and my next video should be out maybe tomorrow with my team selection for Game Week 1. Good luck. I've written an article. It's also below here in the video. I've added that link. Yeah, good luck, and remember to FPL responsibly.